so many people wanting to give up on watercolour due to frustration. So today, to stop these people from quitting something so beautiful, I am breaking down everything I know about watercolour, everything I've learnt since I started, and some things I think you might never have heard of. My name is Fiona De Pinto. Welcome to Drawings in a Drawer, which is mainly a channel about watercolour, around which I am building a community of art lovers. If that is something that piques your interest, be sure to click on that notification bell so you won't miss any of my weekly uploads. And now let's get into today's topic. While I talk about everything I've learnt about watercolour, I will be testing out Paul Rubens' new paints and brushes that they sent me. I always love testing a new art supply, and then I will be creating a painting. I also want to start by saying I have another video on this channel called Crack Watercolour in 15 minutes, where you will find more of the basic steps, as in really taking it from the beginning. And I will link that in the description box. So while this video will still be beginner friendly, it will kind of be more of an up-to-date version of that first one. So I would think it's safe to say that it's also intermediate friendly. As I continue to paint and teach and create art content, I naturally discover more unusual traits of watercolour, which consequently means that I learn to work with these traits, use them to my advantage. Like make your highlights larger than you plan them to be if you are using the white of the paper, but smaller if you are adding them later with an opaque medium like gouache. How to create blooms and hard edges. A lot of people tend to see these as mistakes or flaws that happen in their work, while some of us, like me, love them. So I will tell you how to get rid of them, but I will also tell you how to create them on purpose and why sometimes it can be really hard to get that effect intentionally. These are some of the more unusual things I have learned, but before I go more into detail about these, I will, however, give a brief breakdown of the, let's call them, rules of thumb for aspiring watercolorists, or for those of you who are just starting out. In watercolour, we don't use white to lighten a colour. We use more water to dilute the pigment. Watercolour is more transparent when mixed with more water and becomes darker when the mix contains less water and more pigment. So swatching your colours with more or less water is an excellent way to familiarise yourself with watercolour and how it behaves. The same pigment can look very dark or very light according to how much water and paint were in the mix that you yourself created. We can create a perfect three-dimensional piece just by using one colour, one pigment, by varying the water to paint ratio in our mixes. Rule of thumb number 2, make sure you have good watercolour paper that is 100% cotton, as it is the most important art supply in watercolour because it allows watercolour to spread evenly. It can take copious amounts of water without the surface coming apart. It is pricey, but there are ways to cut costs. Buying large individual sheets, cutting them to small squares, and using both sides being one of them. Rule of thumb number 3, watercolour paintings are built in transparent layers because this medium is transparent. That we must know. But what we really need to know is that more water means less control, and less water, so a thicker mixture, means more control. That is why we usually start off with a more watery mix and build up to mixtures that have less water as we push through the layers and reach our thickest consistency, almost buttery, to get into the tiny details like eyelashes, a strand of grass, or whatever small detail you want to paint. And now we can move on to some juicier, more unheard of tricks, tips, or simply techniques. But before we do, I wanted to remind you that if you want more exclusive content by me with live painting and drawing sessions every month, as well as recorded tutorials, and really feel part of a bubbling and thriving art community with like-minded people from all over the world, then you will find how to do so in the description box below this video. Always remember to test your colours before painting. Watercolour looks much darker in the pan. That's something more intermediate painters that are watching will surely know, but sometimes out of laziness we forget to take that step. So unless you know a colour like the back of your hand, keep that scrap piece of paper handy when you are painting at all times. Okay, that was quite common knowledge, I think, but for something a little more off the radar. Those highlights that really make a painting pop. There are two ways to get highlights in watercolour. Say, for example, the highlight in the eye or a bit of dew on a petal. You paint around the area you intend to be the highlight, so you leave it dry and the paint automatically won't go towards that area where there is no moisture. Or you add the highlight at the end with an opaque medium like white gouache, for example. I quite honestly like to do both, but I have noticed that in the first case it is much wiser to make the highlight slightly larger than you intend it to be. Later in this video you will see me make that mistake while trying to capture the vertical highlights on the bridge of the nose of the portrait I am painting. When painting with a lot of water like I do, these preserved whites are very likely going to get reduced by us inadvertently going too close to them with our wet brush, and if they get damp, you know what happens. The paint from the surrounding area will move into the edge of your highlight and make it smaller. Instead, when it comes to adding highlights at the end, my rule that I have very recently created is to make them smaller. No one wants a blob of white paint to detract from the focal point of the painting, so tread carefully. Also, highlights that are too large tend to look unnatural. So less is definitely more in the case of highlights, in the second case at least, and you always have time to add more if you need to. So larger preserved whites, the white of the paper, but smaller highlights when you add them with gouache or acrylic. And again, that is something that I have learned from my own mistakes, as all the things that I talk about in this video. Blooms, beautiful watercolour blooms. You will see plenty of these in the background of the painting I am creating for this video. They are one of the things that made me fall in love with watercolour, and I was stunned that to some they are considered imperfections or flaws to fix. I love painting in an expressive manner, allowing watercolour's nature to shine through. And to me, these are not flaws, but something I want to embrace, something that adds interest to the painting. Blooms are also called cauliflowers, back runs, hard edges, snowflakes. If you hear any of these terms, That is what they are referring to, the frilly edges you see in your otherwise even wash. These happen when paint that is wet spreads into an area that is not dry but drier, so the paper is kind of drier. It is easy to fix because all you have to do is go in with a clean damp brush and gently blend it out. But there's also another method which will be coming up next. If, however, like me, you want to get these hard edges, you just need to drop a watery mixture of clear water onto already wet paper. But this is not always something that works, and it can be frustrating if you want to paint loose and expressive and you're not obtaining what many consider to be a mistake. If you're not getting blooms or cauliflowers, it might very well be because you are using hot pressed paper or any paper with very little texture. In these cases, the water will just spread out evenly and flow back again because the paper is so smooth. All you need to do is use a more textured paper, so a cold pressed paper or a rough paper if you want an even more dramatic effect, and you are guaranteed to get those blooms, to get those backgrounds. Until not so long ago, I thought the idea of painting on an easel with watercolour sounded like sheer madness. This medium offers so little control by nature that trying to put it on a tilt or almost vertical sounded like sheer madness. You don't want even less control, do you? But since trying, I have never gone back. Painting on a tilt was meant for watercolour in my book. The paint moves downwards and spreads more evenly, creating pools of watercolour at the bottom, which means it's easy for you to locate them and you can easily sop them up with your brush. And for those of you who don't like hard edges in their work, this will help you tremendously to prevent them. My new method now is to almost always start a painting on my tabletop easel and then finish it off flat. You don't have to own an easel. It's enough to place something behind your block or sketchbook at the top so that it sits on a slant. Watercolour consistency. So the water to paint ratio, that's the key to watercolour. Also one of the hardest things to master. Watercolour consistencies also mean different brush strokes. Try experimenting your brush strokes as you test different densities of mixture. You will get so many different and amazing effects and textures that you can incorporate into your work to make it more interesting and also to have more fun. Since I have been painting with Paul Rubens brushes and paints, I just want to say that, as always, the quality of both is amazing. Some of you might know I am absolutely in love with the large pans they create, but these paints they sent me are also professional quality and such a beautiful range of colours, and the brushes hold so much water, which is something that I love. And next week there will be a discount code for these products in my description box, so be on the lookout. Your brushes are your friends, your family, so get to know them. Angle the bristles in the right direction. Use the tip when you reach the edge of your sketch outline. Use the side for larger areas that require more even washes. Use the body of the bristles to create the shapes of leaves or petals. Sometimes all you need to do is load them with your paint mixture and press the shape of the bristle onto the paper. You'd be impressed by how easy it is to create beautiful florals just by experimenting this way. And while I'm at it, I always like to remind you to make sure your brush is fully loaded. So roll it properly in your watercolour mixtures, making sure the paint is evenly distributed among the bristles. Limit your palette. I used to think how boring when I heard that. It took me years to understand that this is a game changer for your work. I really challenge you to try and paint only with primary colours and see how your painting will just have a different quality to it. Your paintings will just glow. And something else is try and find single pigment colours. These are colours that are made, yes, you've guessed it, using only one pigment rather than 2 or 3. This makes them more pure, more vibrant, and again, it will benefit your work greatly. I've just realised that, as always, I have so much more to say, but not enough time left. So this might have another update sometime soon, or, there might be a part 2 at one point. I hope this was helpful to someone out there, and remember, I always like to read what you think in the comments, as this content is all based on my own personal experience, and you might have a different opinion, or you might have a tip to add. So feel free to leave a comment down below and I will surely get back to you. In the meanwhile, keep painting and I will see you all next Sunday.